because it's a little easier to control from there. So we'll go ahead and get started unless anybody feels we should wait a little bit longer. We're not sure right now. It sounds like if Tabitha might be coming or not. So we might have to adjust our agenda a little. I'm so used to using Teams for work that I am out of practice with Zoom. But I did remember how to share.
Great job.
You're doing better than I would.
Yeah, this is the other reason I wanted to try and connect my personal computer this time so I could actually share the agenda and see it. So, all right, go ahead and call to order if you're ready. We are at, I lost the clock now with Zoom.
7:03.
7:03. Before we do the introductions, we should actually do who's going to be note taker so that they can start taking notes, I guess. And may not make it next month, so this is between you, Brian, and Krista. Who would like to be note taker?
I'm happy to take notes.
Okay.
I'm just double checking that I'm going to be able to be at the next meeting, because
Okay.
I think that also means, am I also the facilitator? Yeah, that works.
Okay. Let me know when you're ready to start.
Just making a new document for myself with the agenda. Okay, I think I'm
Okay.
good.
Okay. All right. Introductions then. So I'll start off. Trevor Wilson, Bristol resident, just off of Pine Street on North Meadow. As to Krista, since you're in the room here.
Sure. Hi, I'm Krista Soringo, and here I am. Resident of Bristol.
We also have a couple guests in here, so if you two would mind.
I'm Porter Knight. I'm a Bristol resident.
Jim Guarino, Bristol resident.
All right. And then online, Brian, if you want to go next, and then Amy.
Brian Plant, Bristol resident over Firehouse Drive, committee member, and lots of other committees.
Yeah. And then Amy and Alex, you just joined too. If you don't mind, you don't have to introduce yourself, but if you don't mind, we're just doing quick introductions.
Amy Smith. I'm a Bristol resident and also the new community resource specialist for the town of Bristol.
Welcome. We're excited to have you.
And hi, everybody. I'm Alex Lyford. I'm a statistician at Middlebury College, and I live in Weybridge. Excited to be here.
Thanks for joining, Alex. All right, moving right along, approving our February notes. I did put in our notes the unfortunate caveat that somehow all of those links that Tabitha shared were lost from the notes. Unfortunately, somehow the Zoom didn't keep them, and then I didn't have them. But other than that, were there any changes or anything you don't want to, or you want to approve the notes, or any changes?
Didn't see any changes.
Are we approving them as official minutes? I can't remember. Or just as.
Are we approving what?
Do we have to make a motion to approve them as
We
official?
haven't been.
Okay,
Yeah,
great.
we've just
I
been.
think I'm good with them. Then.
Yeah, just if nobody has objections. All right, count that as approved. So opening public comment period. We're moving right along so far. Any public comments for tonight? Anyone want to speak up or bring anything up?
Very quiet public.
Yeah. Well, other than, I don't know if you guys can hear it online, but there's something going on upstairs from us, and it sounds like they're coming through the ceiling sometimes. Yeah. All right. Any additions to the agenda that we want to note? I
don't have any addition. Well, actually, Amy is here, so I think it would be great to note, just like create a little space to hear a little bit more about what she's up to. So I guess I would add that, and then just to respect her and Alex's time, since Tabitha is not here yet and may not be. I'd love to just, bump that up to the top so maybe we can hear from Amy, and then talk a bit about what our thoughts are with Alex. And then I see planning and zoning, but it doesn't seem like AZ is here yet, so I guess we'll just see what happens when we get to that item.
AZ may not, I mean, if AZ saw the agenda, may not log in till closer to 8:15.
Oh,
Just
right,
guessing,
good point.
just guessing.
Yeah, good point, okay.
Yeah, I think those are good
It might be
additions.
the same with Jessica as well. She might have planned to log in later because she saw the agenda. I'm just spitballing here.
Yeah.
So we can at
okay.
least, start with Amy and then
Yeah.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah, so welcome, Amy. You got onto our agenda and you didn't know you were gonna be put on the spot probably. Yeah, we'd love to, see if you could give a little more introduction, and then find out how we can work together, I think.
yeah, I think that was I think Jessica might have suggested that we connect, and I think we're also looking for a town representative, someone who's on the staff of the town, to serve on this committee, so I
To
don't know
fill
if that's something
Taylor's
that,
position that she
to fill
was doing for
Taylor's
us.
position, right? So I don't know if that's something
Right.
that's, not to put you on the spot, that needs to be decided in this moment, but
Right.
in general, I think it'd be great to just, hear a little more about your work and, just make the connection.
I seem to be, Bruce seems to be having fun throwing me on committees, so.
I think they call that voluntold.
Yes, yes, and working the 10-hour days, I'm like, oh boy.
Oh.
So, um, basically, I'm employed by the town, but I am an extension of the police department as well. I work in the police department, and I can do everything that does not require an officer present. I'm still a community member. I'm still a citizen, or a civilian. So if it comes to anything volatile or tickets beyond dog ordinance and that kind of thing, I cannot handle that, and nor do I choose to. um, the guys are very good about making sure that if there's any risk involved, that they are either with me or are going first, and then I'm able to assist as needed. Um, some of the stuff I've been doing, I've been reaching out to all of the community in the area. I've gone to Middlebury and been on a couple of boards there, and just making connections so that when we need them, they're there and available. And I've been able to see them at work, which is very satisfying from my point of view, because it shows that it's working. For instance, if there's a family in need and they need a resource, I have a group of individuals that I can contact directly and get the services that need to be given to them, or to help them. I'm not directly giving them any of these resources, but I'm connecting them personally, which is quite awesome to see, when I can contact, uh, a contact at CVOEO and get a check for a family in need in, a matter of hours or less. So it's just kind of nice to see. And they're really into the idea of coming to Bristol community. I want to bring some of our services into the community, because a lot of our services are Middlebury and Virgins. And while that's great, some of our community members don't have the transportation, because that's a huge issue. So I want to bring some of the outer resources into Bristol. And so I'm working with that. I'm also doing work in the schools, um, helping, if as needed, parent support, um, organizing transportation for children if needed, helping to make sure that, kids get to school if there's any issues going on there. um, and working closely with Bruce on any of the cases that he feels as though I could be an asset, as well as a social worker and truancy and that kind of stuff. Um, but I very much am an extension of the officers, and they already do an amazing job. And I'm just there to kind of ease their workload a little bit, because behind the scenes, even as living in the town, didn't realize how much these guys are doing. and they are constantly working behind the scenes. And so any way that I can help them in our community has just been my goal.
Thank you so much. Oh my gosh, I have so many questions, but and I'm glad you're here because it sounds like there's a real big need, and I'm
Mhm.
guessing you could probably use like 3 more of you to
Yes.
fill the need. Are you going to be getting the chance to share any little bit of what you shared with us in the town report? Do you know? I'm just thinking that other folks would love to know, and even wondering if you have like numbers, like how many folks you've had some sort of connection with, or
We've started to try to keep the numbers game going, and because of course I'm in the police system, so making sure to write down how many community engagements that I've done. It's a daily thing that I'm meeting with community members. I have some that I just check in on a daily basis, as needed, just kind of a support. How are things going? Is there anything that we need this week? Are you struggling with food or anything like that? Sometimes it's just them knowing that the community is here for them, or reaching out to somebody else that can be needed. I'm not sure about the report. I know that I'm under kind of Bruce's umbrella, so I
so
haven't
maybe
really
they'll come
got.
through that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Already been submitted anyway.
Yeah.
That was a month ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, and he, I know that I've been in a few of his reports that he's done with other police agencies, and he's put in that as well to kind of share the news of what we're doing here, because other towns are looking into that as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and it also worked that I was already a part of the community, and I already was established, and I'd already been working in the community for many years, and lived here for many years. So a lot of people don't know me by my married name. And so once they realize who it is, they're like, "Oh, it's you." And I'm like, "Yes, it's me." And
Yeah, you look really familiar. Were you on the school board for a hot second?
yes, yes, it
Okay. And
was.
do you drive one of the buses?
I drove school bus for 10 years.
Okay.
And I have my psychology degree, and decided that I should probably do something with it now.
Yep. I knew you looked familiar.
Yep. Yep.
I guess so, yeah.
I have a question. This
Yes.
is Porter Knight. I know that the rescue squad has struggled in recent years because their call volume has escalated so dramatically, and that they have a bit of a challenge where there are some frequent callers who really would benefit from a social worker welfare check on a regular basis, just to support them, as you said, to make sure that they know that there's somebody here in the community for them, to help encourage them to stay on their medication, whatever. Because with such tight resources, trying to maintain a rescue squad that's very largely volunteer, but pay for some staffing there, if we have the rescue squad out on a call with somebody who really just needed a welfare check, and then we have a true emergency, but our EMTs are tied up, that's a real risk in our community. And I wondered if you've had an opportunity to work with the rescue squad yet to help assess their caseload, if they're able to share with you or introduce you to some of those people in the community who could really benefit from your supports.
I would love something like that. I know there's a lot of HIPAA. That's the issue that's happening. I have been able to be on calls that Rescue Squad has had to come to. And so I've met some individuals, but I've been trying to get the word out that I'm available to communicate with people. I think a lot of them get nervous because I'm embedded in the police department, and some of them might feel, but I am not, I'm not a police officer, nor do I pretend to be.
Do you have like a business card that says Town of Bristol Social Worker Community Resource Officer, or does your business card say police?
My business card says Bristol Police, but it says Community Resource Specialist. And that is the way that the town set it up. So that was the way that they had set up this position. And all of the community resource specialists that I have spoken to are embedded in the police departments. So that's the way they operate. I do not hold a badge, but I do my badge or my card does say community resource specialist
Yeah.
on it.
So what I might suggest is that you develop like a little flyer that's not a card, that maybe just says community resource and, you know, social work. But I'd be happy to set up a meeting with the rescue squad board or chief of service if you haven't yet met with them. And I also worked with Bruce a couple years ago to put together the flyer that goes in our welcome bags. Which needs to be updated to reflect that you're now on board. So if, you know, if he wanted help putting a flyer together, I'd be happy to help with that too. So I will reach out to you after the meeting, if that's okay.
Yeah, I have also met Bristol Rescue. They've come in and we've chatted, so they're well aware of me. The thing about my position is I am not 24 hours. I am a 40-hour a week position. The town will not let me work 41. They will not let me work any more than that. Therefore, people need to realize that our police force are there, and our police force is the exception. They are amazing. They've done a lot of trainings and they're continuing their trainings. So while I am an asset, I cannot be available 24/7. So that's the only issue that we lie in with that. So I can be a regular check-in, I can communicate, I can do that. But like I said, the town will not let me work more than 40 hours. So that's the niche in my job. I'm more than willing to flex hours, so we're looking at where the need is. So right now I'm doing 4 10-hour shifts. That's Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, but I'm also able to flex to a Saturday or Sunday if needed. So I have availability. I'm also have availability in switching the hours. So as soon as we see where the need is mostly, and that might change by the season, that might change whatever, I have the flexibility to do that. So we're just trying to make sure that we get those connections out there. But I am not a licensed social worker either. So I cannot, you know, promote that either. I am the community resource specialist. I hold a psychology degree, but I am not practicing. So we just have to be careful with our wording with that too.
What kind of information do you need about, or do you need or want about us as a committee, and how can we find ways to assist you? And because it sounds like what you're doing is sorely needed and very
Yeah.
welcome. So
I need to know where the need is mostly. I mean, I can see where some of the need is, you know, there, but there's so many different avenues to pull from. You know, what is needed in our community most of all? What could be a benefit to our community? It is, you know, is there a certain group or you know, organization that would benefit from coming to town and having, you know, a meeting in town once a month, or having a presentation or whatever. I can set those up. I have access to, you know, the halls and rentals and that kind of stuff, so that I can see if some of these, because some of these groups are more than willing to come and do a presentation for us. They just need to know that there's a need there and that people will attend. But I just need to know where the need is, because I could go in 40 million different directions and but I would love to be able to focus that a little bit.
any other questions right now?
Good idea.
Yeah,
Do you want to?
about the flyer, yeah.
It's too bad that she's limited to the time frame that she has to work.
Yeah.
As we know, even in schools, it could be any time.
Right.
I'm used to, my problem was police always responded to every ambulance call, so they can make a determination right there and then That's what someone like ours needed.
Right.
They don't do that here. I
Yeah.
tried years ago. Hadn't been doing it for a while, but lost interest.
Mhm.
I think for the rescue squad welfare check, that doesn't have to happen in emergency hours. In fact, ideally, you know, and I recognize Amy has limited time, but if it's possible and it works out, that, you know, those people are interested in reaching out, having those people on a regular welfare check during normal hours so that they're regulated and feeling safe and secure, and they don't have to call emergency services, it'll save our town a lot of money. And also literally save lives because our limited resources will be available for true emergencies. I think there's a really high return on that investment. And I'm really optimistic that, working together, the, you know, community resource specialist and the rescue squad can help get that information into the hands of the people who need it,
Yes.
without any HIPAA complication.
Yep. And I would love that because that was one of my main goals to start with, is to get a list going of regular check-ins, or, you know, just if somebody needs a phone call, hey, I'm here, how are you? Just kind of like a mental health check-in sometimes is just needed. They just need somebody to talk to. And I am more than willing to do that. I have a couple of individuals that I do that already. And I have the benefit of having a work phone that, and I can text as well as call, because some of the generation prefers the text. And
Yes.
so I try to make a phone call, of course, and establish a connection. I've also met people in public and had a cup of coffee, or just, you know, just relax and know that the community is here for them, you know. And I've had a couple of individuals, you know, just say, I had one today say, you know, I forget that I have my group and that people are here for me, and I'm, you know, just reminding them that yes, we're here, whatever you need, you know, the community is behind you. So
Have you connected at all with Mountain Community Health also? Because they offer, you know, primary care and dental, but they also have behavioral health and addiction support, as well as nutrition therapy. So I don't know what kind of resources they might have. I'm just suggesting, since it is here, you know, right here in the village. And they're, because I'm on their board, I know that they're really wanting to reach out more to the community too. Because they've discovered that they're kind of, there's a lot of people that don't know that they're there, or don't know that they're a nonprofit, and, you know, things like that.
when I started, Bruce handed me a paper that they handed out, the officers handed out, and it had about 6 different resources on it. And he's like, and this is what we hand out to people. And since I've started, I've established more than 50 resources, and I have them organized into different pamphlets of, you know, adults and children and that kind of thing, because there are so many services out there, and there's so many that I've found. And living in the community all my life, I didn't even know half of these. So I've made connections with as far as Rutland and Burlington, and just, you know, and they always have a middleman that's in our community that I didn't know about. So they will come, and they are more than willing to come to me, because they're like, we need to get out of the office. So, you know, we have the connections now. We have the idea of different services we need, or if we don't have them, we can find them. So, you know, that was my main goal starting, is to make sure that I got these connections going. I knew about the resources in my area and how to help my community. So now we just need a way to fully establish with the community, and let them know that I'm here and I'm, you know, available to help them.
Great.
Well, one of the things you mentioned, Amy, was how you want to just make sure you know what the needs are.
Mhm.
And in a way, I think our committee also has that same question. And it's kind of a great segue to Alex being here. But, you know, whether you're officially on the committee or not, I think having lines of communication open between our group and you is going to be important, because, you know, our goal is to make sure that all folks in Bristol feel welcome and included particularly those folks who might be living on the margins.
Right there at the top.
Yeah. Working to ensure that Bristol is a vibrant, sustainable, and accessible community where all feel welcome, safe, respected, and where all value diversity. So, so a lot of the folks that I think we are thinking about are probably folks that you might connect with in one way or another, and probably others that you might not. So, one of our
I'm trying to reach that middle ground, because sometimes there's people that know about the resources, and there's the middle ground that think they could utilize it, but they think they don't qualify, or that, that's not for them. And I keep trying to reach them as well, and know that you have resources available, and, it's not, sometimes people struggle all the time. I've struggled. And that doesn't mean that you can't reach out. Sometimes we just try to carry it all. So, yeah.
Are you able to hang out for a little bit longer while we talk with Alex about our kind of project that we're working on or hoping to work on with him? Because I think
Yes.
that maybe there'll be some information that comes out of that would be useful.
Yes, that's what I was hoping to hear about.
Okay, great. Should we go to that next?
Yeah,
Okay.
unless there's any
Yeah.
other questions for Amy right now, but I come back anytime too.
Thank you.
Brian, you were a little bit quiet, which is totally great, but did you have anything in particular you wanted to ask Amy?
I figure you guys are doing a pretty good job grilling her. Before sending me in with all my, all the, the boards and connections that I got going on to overwhelm her.
I love questions. I love questions.
I don't know that I've got any questions off the top of my head, but I might reach out to meet for a late breakfast some morning and whatnot. Say some stuff I work on. Maybe there's some stuff we could partner on in addition to this group.
Do you mind, Brian,
Yes.
telling Amy about some of the different hats you wear in the community?
Well,
Because you have a lot of them.
try to give you the Cliff's Notes of the history. Came out of homelessness end of September 2023. Moved to the new firehouse apartments here in Bristol, over off right next to the firehouse. Since then, given some testimony a few times in Montpelier. So I have regular contact with some of the local legislators and some of the legislators down there. I'm on the board of directors for Addison Housing Works. On the board of directors for the counseling services Addison County. I'm on the board of commissioners for the Vermont State Housing Authority, Bristol Equity Committee, of course. Also on two committees for the State Health Improvement Plan, which is an offshoot of the Vermont Department of Health. And there's probably something else I'm forgetting. But anyway, so I'm pretty busy in that arena. And I decided to go back to school part-time, and yeah. So I'm guessing there's probably some overlap in there.
Yeah.
Definitely wear a lot of hats. I did that at one point or another. Had a lot more going on. I had gotten. I stopped 3 jobs to do this one job. I was in school. I had 3 kids and was working 3 jobs. So yeah, but you sound like you've got a lot and a great asset as well.
Yeah. Okay.
Right. Yeah.
So we have been trying to think about how to get input from our community on our core values, and we've been talking about a survey tool being one way to do that. So Jessica put us in touch with Alex, who's on the faculty at Middlebury College, and has some eager students who are getting plugged into different projects to help communities like ours gather data. And so Alex and Jessica and I and Brian had a great chat about what kinds of things they tend to work on, and an idea emerged to piggyback on an existing survey that's going out with CVOEO. So we thought it'd be great for Alex to come and share a little bit about that project and how we could get involved and maybe be part of that. So that's a little bit of a background, but Alex, would you like to add a little more depth to that for folks? And Brian, chime in also.
Yep, sure thing. So hi, everybody. So for some quick background, and I apologize if I'm repeating this for anyone who already knows this, but essentially as part of CVOEO's community needs assessment, which they are required to do once every 3 years, they are looking to survey essentially service users in Chittenden and Addison counties, but also sort of the broader community, to ask a sort of insane variety of things, everything from sort of knowledge of CVO's programming, all the way through sort of what are your housing needs, what are your transportation needs, what are your safety needs, what are your how are you using different services. So they have a ton of questions. I sent around the sort of draft survey to Krista, which she is more than welcome to share with other people, and I'd be happy to sort of share that with you. It's been updated a little bit, but the idea is there are tons and tons and tons of questions. And what CVOEO historically has been really good at is getting people to answer their surveys. So there's the response rate. I want to say we had something like 2,000 respondents, maybe 1,500 of which were in Chittenden and Addison County, which is pretty impressive given their network. And so when I got the email, essentially from Krista, I figured, why make you guys go through all of the trouble of trying to get a bunch of people to answer a survey when CVOEO is going to do a lot of that advertising. And there are sort of a whole bunch of questions in there that you all might be interested in asking to members of your community, or at the very least knowing the answer to. But if there's some specific things that your committee is interested in asking residents of Bristol, then what we could do is essentially, as we send out the survey to all of the Addison County and Chittenden County respondents, if a respondent indicates that they live in Bristol or in the surrounding area, depending on sort of where you guys are looking, then we could simply sort of insert some survey logic that says, hey, you can answer a couple of extra questions sort of geared towards your particular interests. And of course, we'd share back all that data either in raw form, if that's useful, or we could do some basic analysis and visualization. One of the things that we're doing for CVOEO is building out sort of a web app where users can go in and sort of sort by question, cross-tabulate by sex, by age, by town, by whatever you might want to look at, and sort of see some basic results. So we could both sort of provide that data to you, but also sort of have some nice visualizations. And so the idea here is, from CVOEO's point of view, if you guys could help sort of get out the vote, so to speak, in answering this survey, they of course would do their own stuff too, and sort of adding whatever questions you might be interested in asking would be super easy to do. With the caveat that the timeline is we want to send out the survey 2 weeks from this Friday. So there's essentially no wiggle room in that, which is to say we have to move kind of quickly on. If you do literally nothing, then at the very least, we are happy to share all of the data we get about Bristol residents, given the questions we're planning to ask. But the hope is that if you are interested in asking some questions, we can insert those in a way that makes sense, or maybe adjust the wording of some of the existing questions to sort of more finely fit whatever needs you might want to be assessing.
What are some of the questions that you're planning to ask? And if we do have questions, how many, I guess, can we put in?
Sure. So I sent this around to Krista. I'd be happy. She can share it, or I can share it with all of you. I'll just read off a couple just so you get the general idea of what's on the survey. So there's a bunch of demographic information: income, adults living in the household, housing status, race, ethnicity, etc. And then some questions related to CVOEO's programming. So what community action agencies do you use? Which of these CVOEO programs have you heard of or used? Questions about where people live, asking about what services they would most like to see in their community. There's a couple of questions about the community. What do you enjoy most? What's the community missing? Ideas for programming. And then there are a bunch of, we sort of randomize a subset of questions asking about housing, utilities, and food, food access, transportation, childcare, safety, climate, weatherization, employment, and finances. So all in all, there's like maybe 10 demographic questions, 10 questions related to the community, and then respondents get a random subset of questions about sort of basic needs. To answer your second question, I mean, in theory, we could reasonably insert as many questions as we want. The idea is that we're trying to keep the survey to a hard cap of 15 minutes, and I'd say we're sort of close. But from a CVOEO standpoint, the subset of people that would be getting your questions are quite small in the grand scheme of things. So if you guys say, hey, we got 8 questions we really want to ask, I think that's reasonable. I think a target number would be somewhere around 5. And we're happy to, I mean, like it's not going to make or break anything. But the idea is maybe to not double up asking questions that are sort of already being asked. And we can work with you to, there's some just sort of good survey design principles, like is the reading level appropriate? And is the type of question being asked in line with the wording of other questions? So,
I'm sorry.
okay, sorry.
I was just gonna say, can you put the questions up?
Yeah, I've got them right
But
here.
if you
I
could
was,
share them instead of the agenda so he can see them.
yeah. Yeah, so what Porter was saying is that we have 4
Mhm.
questions that we had come up with as part of this core values project. And I think we've agreed on these as far as our outreach that we wanted to do. So I think if they seem doable from a, plain language and like whatever other important things we need to keep in mind, then if those of us on the committee agree, we could just go ahead and
Yeah.
plunk these in. I had a
So
hard time finding them, but I don't know
Yeah, I was
if
trying to remember when.
they're
which meeting they were on.
yeah.
Is it October? No.
Trevor, I can send you in an email, the
Okay.
link to the document that it lives within, and you can pull them up.
Oh, the shared document.
Yeah, it's sorry, were you going to say something, Alex?
just a couple of sort of logistics thoughts whenever
Okay.
you guys are ready.
Okay,
But
did you
I
see
have
that?
one question maybe related to logistics too, which is just because one thing we've talked about is trying to, a lot of the community that we want to reach may not be the type of community that's, going on Front Porch Forum and attending farmers markets and all these different things that most people think of when they think of doing outreach in the community. So when you get your data back, do you compare it to like known demographics already to kind of find where you could have missing your gaps in it, respondents?
Yeah, it's a good question. Lots of thoughts, which is I think most, at least from CVOEO's point of view, they are not interested in getting a representative sample of Vermonters. They're interested in getting, I guess you could say, a representative sample of service users. So they're targeting a specific population, which means that they are working with community ambassadors to get out sort of the word of the survey via WhatsApp and via house meetings. And so they're taking a lot of avenues that are going to reach, they're going door to door to like reach those kinds of people, which is maybe the same thing. There's definitely nothing specific going on in Bristol, but that might be the same thing you might have to do to reach the people who aren't going to be on Front Porch Forum, who aren't going to be on Facebook, who aren't going to be on Instagram, who might not.
Yeah.
We're going to put these up at food banks, at grocery stores. The sort of flyers will be everywhere, but I do agree there are some people for whom you're going to have to go door to door or know someone.
Yeah. Okay. These were the questions we were looking for, right?
Oh, perfect. Okay. Yeah, these are the ones that
Okay.
you to send.
I think that those got tailored a little bit.
Oh,
I
did
thought so
they?
too.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah, they got in November, December, they were
Okay.
customized somewhat for Bristol, but not dramatically. This is
Okay,
the gist, and we could, I just thought it'd be nice, Alex, if you could see the questions that the committee was talking about. And then, and we can send you the committee had added to these a little bit or tailored them more specific to Bristol, but then you could help make them better survey questions.
Yes.
And also help, if there's some of these questions you feel are already being asked by the survey, then we could eliminate it or amend it. And I'm curious if Krista, when you share the questions, if Amy might also have some ideas about questions she might like to see from the community or information she'd like to collect. So if we take our Bristol 4 or 5 questions, maybe 1 or 2 of them is Amy's and 3 of them is this committee's.
And I have a feeling that Amy, with all the outreach that you're already doing, that you've probably got data that we've been trying to get and haven't.
I've done
Yeah,
a
you-
survey. So I actually had CVOEO come to me and I did the survey with him. I also have a direct connection with him, and he reaches out anytime there's a community member in our area that could use help or trying to contact. So I do have a direct connection with CVOEO, and we communicate often.
You were meant to be with us.
I know, right?
Amy.
Join
I-
us, join us.
I do that connection piece. I love making connections, and we have regular. I'm also on the board with the health department and that kind of stuff. So I have different connections in there.
Great.
But I communicate regularly with CVOEO almost at least
Okay.
once a week.
And that means too, Alex, that Amy will be a great asset to Bristol and to CVOEO in getting the survey into the hands of those people that we
Yeah.
want to hear from in those at-risk communities.
We appreciate it.
Mhm.
So wait, a couple of thoughts, which is,
Yeah.
I'll definitely take some time to look over these questions and sort of think in a different sort of space about them.
Sure.
In an ideal world, so we're going to come up with some sort of survey logic that's going to say, if you answer these questions in a certain way, you're going to get prompted with these questions. Is it okay to say, like, there's a question that says, what county do you live in? And then when you choose a county, it says, which town do you most identify with?
Yep.
Is it, would I be missing anything if we only ask these questions to people who select Bristol?
No, I
Okay.
think that's what we, yeah.
At one point, we were talking about Bristol, just Bristol alone, but then we realized maybe we should open it up to, people that use, because, it's kind of a hub for other towns to come in, shop
Yep.
here, spend time here and whatnot. That there's probably some benefit of getting, outside information as well. Unless,
I wonder if there's a kind of a question that allows people to choose whether they're a resident or consider Bristol like their kind of hub.
So the way that we ask the question is essentially, which community do you most feel at home or associate with?
Yeah.
So I think we will catch some of those people. I guess I just wanted to make sure that there wasn't some surrounding town for whom you might also want to be collecting this information.
Do you also ask about where people might be employed? I don't know a lot about CVOEO, so I don't know more about the survey, but because if somebody says that they identify with it, they work here, that would be another person that's spending a lot of time here.
Yeah, the short answer is no.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's gonna get us so much further though than we are right now.
Yeah.
This is exciting.
Mhm. Yeah. What else do you need from us, Alex,
Yeah.
in the next, before the 2-week?
Yeah.
No, I think this is helpful. So my plan would be to take these questions, meet with my student team, go over them. I mean, I think they look totally reasonable, but think carefully about, sort of what analysis are we actually going to do, and are these questions going to elicit the kinds of responses that you guys are going to want to do something meaningful with. And we'll test them with a couple of sort of survey testers just to make sure the reading level is appropriate and the question is understandable and it doesn't take an insane amount of time. And then we'll get back to you in probably a week in case there's anything that's not, or that we have questions about, or edits we want to make. And then, I mean, CVOEO is already sort of pre-approved this, but we'll send them to them just to double check that everything's fine. And then we'll put it into the survey, and not this Wednesday, but next Wednesday, we'll send out a final draft of the survey. So you'll get like a link to the Qualtrics survey, and you can look at the whole survey and answer that you're from Bristol and sort of play around to make sure it looks right. And then that Friday, we will send it out.
So I guess just for us, the committee, we'll need to figure out how to communicate outside of a meeting, whether we're good with the questions, or any feedback we need to give. And so it could be that maybe, you know, I could share feedback from Alex, folks could give that feedback to me, and then I could just communicate it.
If you're
to
okay
him.
with that, I think having a central
Yeah,
contact like
I'm
that.
okay with that if you guys are okay with that. Brian, what do you think? Is that okay?
We
with you?
already kind of started this, well, I mean, you
Yeah.
and Jessica kind of started the ball rolling on this, so. If
Okay.
you're cool with it, then yeah, I'm good.
I'd
And we'll
love
just be
to.
prepared for your responses, or that you're gonna be reaching out,
Yep,
so
right,
we can respond quickly.
right. I'll let, you know, Alex can tell me, and then I'll tell you, we need to get back by this date.
Alex, you had said that the survey would go out in 2 weeks. What is the time frame over which you're going to be collecting the surveys? So when do you want it to be closed? Because this committee had also talked about doing some one-on-one conversations with people and also collecting data that way. And I'm curious how we might integrate that to your survey data, or if that would be a separate data set. Jessica had talked about helping us, but what do you think?
Yeah, totally fair. The plan is to leave it open for 2 weeks. The last time we did this 3 years ago, we ended up extending it another week and doing a big push, and it actually was quite successful. So I'm going to guess somewhere between 2 and 3 weeks. We could easily design a sort of pipeline that makes it very straightforward to, hey, here's a sort of web application with all the results, and you could upload additional results. So you could collect your own sort of one-on-one data, put it in an Excel file, and upload that file, and it would update the visualizations and the analytics with the word
Wow,
clouds,
that's
the
awesome.
whatever, based on that. Or we could just sort of treat that separately, like this is different qualitative data, and you could tell the stories that you want to tell based on the two sort of separately.
You're okay with mixing the two? That doesn't make you nervous?
Not nervous. I mean, I think you're going to get, if you ask the exact same question on a survey that someone is probably doing on their phone or on a tablet at the grocery store, compared to asking a one-on-one question, even if it's the same question, I think you're going to get drastically different kinds of answers. So I think in some sense, combining it is probably fraught no matter what. But if it, at the very least, it'll put all the responses in one place, and then we can add a tab where you can filter for, was it a survey response or was it an in-person interview,
Gotcha.
or whatever. So we can at the very least, we can correlate it all in one place so that anyone could look at it and make their own decisions.
Okay. That's awesome. What other questions? So do you have any questions here? Anything you're thinking about? Like if we give you this survey, like
How was the survey gonna be put out?
how do they typically share out the survey? So flyers, I heard.
Oh
would
god,
they
it's
be
a
like
million things. It's like a 12-point thing. So it's like door to door, door hangers, community ambassadors, QR codes at a bunch of different food banks, grocery stores, every social media platform you could imagine, front porch forum buys, newspaper, but there's like a 12-step list of all the things that they're doing. So if that's relevant, I could get that information for you, but it's quite comprehensive. I will admit that it is more centered in Burlington, in terms of some of the specific programs that they're using to get sort of these underserved communities end up being sort of centered around Burlington, especially with non-native English speakers.
Yeah.
You said that you would be willing to share like larger data set also, like because I'm now you're saying that with Burlington, it just makes me wonder if, regardless of what responses we get for Bristol, is there something that we could learn from that about then being able to then reach out to people in our community later?
Yeah. So wait.
I don't know. I mean, there's so many possibilities, right? Right now, that's all that's ahead of us.
So I'm gonna put in the Zoom chat the app that I made, both CVOAO and Capstone Community Action 3 years ago. So I just put it in the chat now. So that has all of we don't share the raw data, but you can aggregate, you can basically cross tab and aggregate by anything you want. So that gives you an idea of all of the questions that were asked before, and just some very basic sort of data visualizations of basically anything you could want. So that'll give you sort of an idea of what's been done in the past, and maybe that gives you some idea of additional questions or things you might want to ask your community, or the kinds of information that we would be able to share again from all the communities in Vermont. There we go. Sorry. So the long story short is you can sort of choose a community action agency. You can choose whether you're interested in service users or not. You can select genders, and each of the variables is every single survey question. And so you can cross tab with a bunch of different things. So it's a fun app. You should play with it and sort of see all the results. But this will sort of give you an idea of what
I did make
what
sure
it was
I
like 3 years
copied
ago.
the link this time, so
I love
so I could save it.
What's fun for you, Alex? It's pretty awesome.
I was laughing at that too.
This is
Well,
great.
these are
I'm super
wonderful.
excited. I don't know about you guys, but
I'm very excited, yes.
okay, so I'm gonna make sure to send
Oh my gosh, it's
everyone
there's
here, and Jim, I'll get your email too, so you can see
I
the.
can try my email.
Okay, great, because I'd love for you to see the survey questions that we'll share those out.
But you said you didn't get it, so if you wouldn't mind writing it down again, because somehow I got it wrong.
But otherwise, yeah, Alex, I think we're good. And just, yeah, let me know.
Sounds good. I'll get back to you guys next week with just some thoughts, potential edits, whatever, just confirmation at the very least. And then we can go from there.
Okay.
Thank you.
Great.
Awesome. Thanks for having me, guys.
All right, have a great night. Thank
Take care,
you.
everybody.
Trevor, will you do me a favor and just open the chat and copy that link
I
and
did,
send it?
I copied it and I was waiting until we were done there, so I
Okay.
could send it over.
Awesome. I have a fear of
I had to
losing
throw-
that.
Yeah, and that's last time somehow they did get lost, but this time I copied it into a notepad. And then
Okay.
share it over. I'll just reply to.
And so Amy, I'm gonna also include the current survey for you to see. And then, feedback, thank you so much.
Thank you,
Feedback that you might want to offer
Yeah,
on whatever he sends to us.
I work very well on email chains too. Sometimes because my job sometimes I'm running here, there, and everywhere. So sometimes that's the best way to communicate.
Okay, great.
So we might get you on some email chains at points then, so just tell us if you're on one that you need to get or want to get off of.
Yeah, exactly.
That might be better.
I love information, any information that I can get on. I am on a bunch of chains right now, and I've learned about a bunch of services that I did not know about. So it's great.
Go on to more stuff.
Sure,
Yeah. Since we don't have Tabitha, I don't know how much everyone wants to go into reviewing our outreach, especially given what we just talked about. I'm kind of curious to learn more and look through his survey, what he's done in the past, and then find out what questions he comes back with. But has anyone had conversations going on? I've had a couple. I wouldn't say they were the most successful in the world. Starting with my neighbors who are part of the LGBTQ plus community. I didn't hear back from the veterans group. I don't know if you had, Brian. I know you were trying to reach out.
No, I think when we last left off, Krista, was it you that said know it know him really well? So I
yeah,
didn't know if you
and I
had a
did
chance to
not.
reach out to him or.
No, yeah.
I haven't done, so yeah, on that end, I have not done much. I did reach out to John Graham to see if they'd be willing to help with as far as the homeless community. They have declined. I did reach out to I don't want to butcher her last name, but Tori, last name it starts with an M. It's like Mary
Pathways.
Kelly or something like that. She used to work for Pathways, and she also worked for John Graham at one point. She now works for Addison Housing. She still has some connections. And we had a brief conversation. She said she'd be willing to give us a hand if and when we're ready to move anything forward. And I just haven't had a chance to sit back down with her. We were both supposed to go to Montpelier a week or so ago, and then she got sick, and so I was like, oh, there's an hour, at least an hour there on the ride to Montpelier to talk about it. And
Mhm.
One thing I think we kind of talked about is where do we want to put responses that we get? And how do we want to document them? And I thought Tabitha wanted to talk more about that tonight. I could be wrong.
I don't remember that.
Yeah, when we did this with ARPA, we gathered a lot of information in different ways, and some of it was for the focus groups on pads of paper, and some of it was in conversations one-on-one, which was on usually postcards. We literally just handed that all over to Jessica Teets, and her students went through and coded everything.
Oh,
So,
okay.
I think that she could probably share that information with us, but I'm wondering, given the, this forthcoming survey, if, one of the major ways that you do your outreach is simply to help amplify that one. So, they already have, he said, a dozen ways to put the word out, but they're gonna be focusing on both Chittenden and Addison County. But if we just flood Bristol with those posters, front porch forum posts, flyers, and then also, nothing wrong with standing at the grocery store or helping out at the food shelf and not just having the QR code, but literally interviewing people there, or forwarding the email with the link to all of the contacts that, like the ones Brian's been talking to, and just say, can you send this to your people? And so just ripple it out there. I think that's great. And timing wise, so your next meeting is in 4 weeks.
Yep.
So that would be half a week before the survey closed. But if they went the survey for 3 weeks, which I'm sure you could explicitly request, then you could amplify it after that. But if you're all in agreement, then you could just do it.
Yeah.
And not even wait till your next meeting, but just as soon as they've got it ready to go, just push it. And maybe take that Google Doc that Tabitha had set up or create a new one and just have everybody just catalog on that. I put flyers up here. I sent it to this person and asked it to, so that we just have a running list of who did what. And I don't think there's anything wrong if Brian sends it to the John Graham Shelter and Trevor sends it to the John Graham Shelter, and I send it to Mountain Health and Trevor sends it to Mountain
Yeah.
Health and Amy sends it to, the people she knows, and we send it to the food shelf people too. Like, I think if they get it from 4 different people that they know in town, they'll be like, oh, I guess I'll do that.
Yeah,
Well, and who each of us reaches out to might be a different person at the organizations too.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that I like that plan. I mean, I don't know what you think, Trevor or Brian, but it's already it sounds like a really robust survey with a lot of the kinks figured out. And if we could just put our energy toward trying to get lots of folks to respond, I think we'll get more valuable information. I really do love the idea of connecting with folks one-on-one and trying to pull groups of people together. I just don't know how much capacity I have for that right now. And I think it is a hard thing to do, to get enough of that to have meaningful data. Not that it's just about that, but I am also wondering, and I guess I wish maybe this is something I could ask Alex after. I'm curious to know how the different ways CVOEO uses the survey, but as I was thinking about motivating people to fill it out, making sure we even know, like, how does this benefit our community and the resources that we receive and want to ensure that we continue to receive. That's a connection that I think if we understand a little better, that we can make to people, encouraging them to fill out the survey.
I mean, the easy answer is it's a lot of it's all connected. I mean, folks that are, if you start with just say the homelessness folks, usually there's something that got them started there, whether it's a disability or mental health condition or a substance abuse issue, or they just flat out lost their job and hit hard times. I think we amplify it, just in the few, areas that I'm at, and let's say, hey, let's try to push this out. That we'll be doing, the information we get back is what we're looking for, and helping them get it out, get the word out. If I talk to the counseling services, hey, see if there's something, your counselors and whatnot are willing to help amplify and whatnot. These are resources that many of your people are probably already using, whether it's food shelf type stuff or whatever. I think I think overall it'll be beneficial, and the connections will just, pop up in front, unveil themselves in front of us.
What do you
Yeah.
think, Trevor? Does that sound
Sounds
like it
like-
makes sense to you?
Yeah, I think it'll produce more data potentially, but better quality
Mhm.
of the data that we're looking for, at least to start, because that's where we kind of keep stumbling, right? We keep not getting a real good start, and this is going to get us past that point, kind of like a catalyst.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to think about it.
Like as far as going door to door, I mean, I'm kind of limited physically, but I mean, if I got flyers to put on people's doorknobs around here, I got 20 captive apartments, and there's a community room and a laundry room that I could post up a flyer. So
Yeah.
And I seem to happen to know the people that, I don't, get the permission to hang that stuff and pass it around anyway. So,
And like you said, it doesn't preclude having a conversation.
no.
The conversation can be start a conversation.
All right, what are you doing? Why are you passing this stuff
But
out?
you don't have to answer all these questions now. Just, if you would take this survey.
It's a little late now, but you should have thought about getting something out town meeting day.
Yeah.
We always surveys up on the table upstairs.
Yeah, I want to just add one other thought, but I was gonna share that too. But I just wanted to say, when you said catalyst, Trevor, I think that is important too, that we could use what we learn, and even like someone like Amy to say, like, is this what you're seeing? Like, does this sort of, or are there gaps that you don't see reflected in this data, or what's missing? Or so it doesn't have to be the only way that we are finding out about what's going on in our community, but it is like a way to start, which is, I think, what we really need. But yes, so we talked about, or Porter and Jessica had suggested using town meeting, the tables there, or often have surveys. And so I reached out to Sharon, who said we could put our 4 questions, print them out and put them out there and get them, have the surveys and some pencils or whatever in a box to collect them. If we want to do that. Unfortunately, I'm going away tomorrow through town meeting. It's the first town meeting I've missed in like 10 years, I'll have you know.
Sorry.
I am gonna be I'm so bummed because of all the town meetings I missed. This one's gonna be like a rockin' party. But anyway,
So I was going to find the questions that you guys had modified, and I think
Yeah.
it was the November meeting, but maybe it was
I know,
December.
I was just gonna look at my
And
notes.
so do you want me to do that? Print the paper with the questions for town meeting and
that
also
would be
send that to
amazing.
Alex?
That would be amazing.
Okay,
That would be
because you
so
said you're
great.
leaving tomorrow.
Yeah,
I'd be happy to do that.
thank you so much.
Then you don't have to worry about that for the minutes.
Okay,
And I know I have those questions, because I think you asked about it, Trevor, last month, and I mailed, or somebody who missed the meeting said, what are the questions? And I sent them out again, so I know that I've sent them out within the last 6 weeks. So I definitely have this, so I will send that to Alex. And I will print something up and circulate it to the committee and just make sure everybody's like, yep. And then, did Sharon say we have to print them? I mean, you're a committee, so you should be able to do it. I'll take it in. I'll ask Sharon.
okay,
Okay.
that would be amazing. Thank you so much, because it seems like such an easy thing to do, but I can't make that happen.
So because this will be my first town meeting,
Oh, it's gonna be so fun.
because I didn't know really what it was last year when I
Yeah.
lived here. And this isn't something that people do in California.
Yeah,
So I'm excited to be part of it.
Yeah.
I know you asked us, Porter, to put something in Front Porch Forum, and I generally was excited to put that in there. So But how does the survey part work? Does someone need to be there?
No,
Or you
they're just left right out
Okay.
on the table before you come in. It's
Oh,
not
okay,
in the
okay.
town hall, but it's on that
Dropbox.
long table right outside.
Okay.
And then, so the surveys would be there and a box.
And we
of
just
the
need to
completed
make sure
survey.
we're collecting them at the end.
Yeah,
Okay.
so if someone could grab them that's
Yeah.
there, that would be great.
Or if we get them the next day, it's fine, like Sharon doesn't throw it out, she just leaves
Right,
it there.
that's
and
true.
Okay.
then-
I know, I couldn't believe after we made these plans, my daughter's coming home for spring break and I was like, oh
Other
no.
thoughts for
I
that?
mean, we'll be home, but it'll be pretty late Monday night, so. I'm very sad because there's gonna be food trucks. I mean, it's gonna be like a.
That's not
full-on-
normal.
What's that?
That's not normal.
No,
Oh,
it's not
okay.
normal. Although there are always
Really?
really good desserts
And the Masons are doing the desserts again,
in addition to
yes,
the,
so
okay,
that will be there.
okay. Yeah, well, and so I didn't opt to do a front porch forum post. I instead sent haranguing text messages to a bunch of people, which I think actually works. Like the personal, like, are you gonna be there? And then I
actually got a
realized
couple
I'm not
replies.
gonna be there, so I probably shouldn't yell at people for not coming.
You have a good reason. But I actually got a couple people that replied by email.
Nice.
I mean, Bristol's amazing, so you guys
It is.
know it, but I'm still learning it and being amazed by it all the time, so.
Such a great town.
Okay, we've got some really good action things coming up
You
then.
guys should have been around here in the fifties. That was a real good town.
Yeah,
A lot different. Oh, yeah.
how was town meeting in the 50s? Packed
About
town,
the same.
about the
Two
same,
people showed up. That was,
really?
Are you excited for the food trucks?
no,
How about the desserts?
no, oh, yeah, those are.
You'll eat the desserts, okay.
I ate the brownies right away.
Oh my God, I know. I know, I'm like, how much dessert can I eat without embarrassing myself? Like, it's all,
Nobody's judging.
nobody is, I don't know.
Maybe by our next meeting, I'll see if I can bring in, because my wife works at, this is complete aside, but she works at Farmhouse Chocolates.
Oh my God.
And they're designing some new chocolates.
Oh, really?
Ancho chili,
You have to eat all the
truffles,
mistakes.
and dark chocolate maple truffles. And they're vegan. And I got to test them.
Dark chocolate.
Yeah.
Yes,
It sounds dangerous.
yes. But anyway. What time are we at? We're at 10 after. Well, I guess we're not gonna get AZ or Tabitha today, and that's probably, if you didn't get my email, then whatever I sent out may not have gotten to them.
Well, the other thing I was thinking, tonight, the town hall that Bernie, Peter Welch, and Becca Blount were doing right around this time as well.
They are, yeah, my wife's been texting me updates from it.
Oh, really? I
Yes.
know, I was bummed that
Um,
was going on.
Yeah, so it could just be bad timing, but I think I think they're gonna be excited with what we've come up with from this, so I
Yeah.
think next meeting might actually end up being more worthwhile having Tabitha there as because by then, at the very least, we'll have stuff from town meeting now.
Yeah.
It sounds like the survey may not hit till the next meeting after that, so.
I might actually say, because the funding with Tabitha, you may want to be more circumspect with
Yeah.
that as you get towards the end of the available fund for this committee to use with her, because
Right,
the bulk of that 10,000 was for other things for the town. Is that maybe you wait until you have the data.
That's what I was.
Yeah.
And I actually think that the things that you did tonight, I don't think there was more to it. Like, she was helping you get the questions and figure out how you were gonna disseminate that,
Mhm,
you did it.
mhm.
So I think you could let that ride and wait till the April meeting, when presumably you'll have the data back from Alex's students. And then if you feel like you need more guidance at that time, then you could reach out to her then. But it may be that between, again, with Amy's insights in the community and networking, and with Jessica's insights in terms of data analysis, the committee might be fine.
I think that's a really good point. And so if we don't expend all that money, or is a contract for a set amount of time, so we will have her back regardless, it's just a matter of
So
when,
here's the
or
way
is
it
it?
is, the town wrote a grant
Yep,
and got $10,000, it's in the bank here, it's the town's money.
Yep.
As long as the town uses that money in the spirit of the grant,
Mhm,
then that's fine.
mhm.
Now, we are on our third extension for that grant because of just the timing of getting the committee going, et cetera. And I think we could probably ask for one more, so it's due. July-
Of spending down the money.
Yeah,
extension.
July 1st, if by December 31st, the money hasn't been used by the town, the community foundation might, they could ask for it back, or they might just ask the town to say, you know, in goodwill and spirit, how will you spend that money in the spirit of the grant? But, you know, a big portion of the grant was for things that you guys could do
Mhm,
if you decided to take action
yes,
after you have a sense of core values. So
right,
maybe you would want to fund the library social justice discussion group speakers. Maybe you would want to develop, maybe you would want to fund the welcome bags and run
Yeah.
that project. Maybe you would want to work with the town to have community or employee training on topics of interest. Maybe you would want to encourage the select board to use the money that was set aside for vouchers for people of limited means who would otherwise volunteer on town committees and commissions, but
Mhm.
don't because they
Mhm.
can't afford childcare or transportation.
Mhm.
So those are the types of things there's money in the grant for, that this committee could help direct. The select board's not doing anything with the money right now because they've got their hands full. It would be for you guys to come and say, we'd like to see this, or
Yeah.
maybe after you get your core values work, you say, and something else entirely. And I
Mhm.
don't think the community foundation would push back on you for that, as long as it was in the spirit of equitable and inclusive communities, which is what that grant was for. So,
and so how much of the 10 have we, or do we have 10 remaining to spend, or?
I think there's 7 remaining. I'm not
Okay.
entirely clear because I'm not privy to the town's accounts payable. And I don't honestly even know if Tabitha's gotten paid because she submitted her thing and then Valerie left, and then I'm not sure.
Mm.
I think Ian has put it forward, but I don't know. So
Okay.
I think there's $7,000 left.
Okay,
So plenty of money to do all the things that the select board approved for the grant.
Yep.
And I think reasonable time.
I mean, what do you think, Brian, Trevor, and Amy, about waiting on specifically inviting Tabitha back?
No, I
So
think
we
that's
have a
a good
chance to
idea.
kind of see what the data,
I think we should just make sure we let her know that that's what our plan is, so she
Mhm.
doesn't think that she's missed an invite or something,
Yeah.
like, it seems to, possibly happen tonight, or, and I don't know what she would want to do, because if she would be interested in coming on her own, I think we should make sure she's welcome
Yeah.
to attend meetings, but that we're just making it clear that we're not, do that part right now.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. I was
Yep.
kind of rambling a little bit, sorry.
Makes sense.
Do you want me to just send her a note?
If you want to send her a note, I don't know if we wanted to send her, well, I guess if you send her a note, just letting her know what we're doing, yeah.
I can
She
do
doesn't
that.
need to see like the whole notes, meeting minutes unless she wants to, and those will be posted on the town website anyway, so.
okay.
Yeah.
Cool,
But just, I want to make sure I understood, or with what's available to spend, we advise the select board of what we think they should do with it, and then they still actually approve and decide if. they're gonna do it.
Absolutely.
Okay,
Because this is an advisory committee.
okay,
so
I just want to make sure
it-
that's the way
Over
it
the
is.
course of your work, if there's at any point where the committee's like, we think this would be an important thing for the town to do, we want to do this thing,
Mhm.
then you would go to the select board and say, here's this thing that we think would be good to do. Will you fund that? And they say yes, and no, we have this money for that.
Right, okay,
Or they say, we don't like that, or, whatever, but
so we can do it, recommend things anytime regardless of the funding.
exactly.
Okay,
Right, if
Just
they weren't
making
so
sure I
busy, they
understand.
might be wondering when you were gonna come and ask them to fund things, but
yeah.
I think that they understand that you were spending the first couple of months sort of orienting
Getting our feet
yourselves
under
and then
us.
doing this core values work, so they're like, cool, let us know when you
yeah,
Yeah.
have something to advise.
On the topic of the select board though, I've been wondering if, one or more of us should make, an appearance there just to attend, so that they know that someone, that we're attending and paying attention to what they're doing too.
Kind of have been. I mean,
Oh, you have
it's
been?
not,
Okay.
not religiously, like it's not every week, because for a while they were having a meeting every single week. They've had a few on Saturdays that I've attended. So at least Ian's
Okay.
familiar with me. And some of the others like, oh yeah, it's him.
Brian, you moved to Bristol in 2023, is that what you said?
September 23rd, 2023.
And I think more people know you because of all the things you show
I
up
know.
at than some of us who've been here for like 20 years. It's amazing.
And then you probably saw me at the was it the Community Engagement Committee for the
Yeah.
Town Abe School Board. I've attended a few meetings for that. Wherever I have time. Right now, the school stuff's been taking up a ton of my time, so I've had to cut a few things back. But
Yeah.
and for those curious, as a side note, I did re-up for another year. I think they're going to bring it up to approve it at the select board meeting, but I am, since my
For this
1 year
committee?
term's up, I'm staying.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Awesome.
Because that was another thing that I guess it should have been in the new business was
Oh, we need.
member, yeah.
Well, I wonder, so Trevor, you posted a front porch forum enthusiastic, everybody should go thing, but does the equity committee want to say, looking forward to seeing everybody at town meeting?
Yeah.
We have an open seat for an alternate.
Yeah.
I can post that.
And then, and just something like, you can say like, reach out to any one of the committee members if you have questions.
Mhm.
And the process is to submit a letter to the select board expressing interest.
Okay.
And you could say that like the alternate, you know, has typically attended all the meetings,
This
but doesn't have
form
to.
the town,
Website, or right in the
in
thing,
book.
right in the town report, there's a form at the front. I want
Oh,
to
is that really?
volunteer.
Oh,
Yeah, did you not read your report yet?
I just picked it up last night, so I
Yeah.
did not read it yet.
Maybe you see it. There's a page right there, and I think the equity committee's right on it.
Mhm.
That's amazing.
You come to all the meetings, you should be
Yeah,
at
I
that.
know.
I know.
Cause then you go to the select board meetings too, you could.
Yeah, I go to every meeting that the town has,
God
either
bless you.
Zoom or in person.
So you and Brian are
It's
gonna be neck
19
and neck
years.
for
19
Civic.
years I was chair.
He's got me beat by a mile.
I didn't even get, thank you. So I'm done with committees.
I thank you every time I see you, cause I appreciate you showing up.
Yeah.
It's like civic
Well, the
engagement.
select board does too. In fact, one meeting, I was homesick and they called me to see.
See, right?
That's
That's how
wonderful.
you get your welfare check. You, people call on you if they don't see you, show up at the,
That's
whatever, the
wonderful.
coffee shop or.
That's good.
So the only other things we had on our new business was, I'd thrown on there updating the contact list, but no one responded with any changes. So I think until we have a member change, although I think, Brian, for some reason, some of your contact was missing, at least from the copy of the contact list I had.
Secret. No. What part? What information do you need?
I don't have it in front of me now. I can get back to you through email if that's,
Sure.
Yeah. Just to make sure that we all have our contact for each other, especially if we're gonna need to be in closer contact for a little bit, with the survey coming up. Just seemed like a good idea.
Okay.
And then information swap was the last thing on our agenda, and Porter, you'd submitted that Vermont Declaration of Inclusion, which was really wonderful to kind of read through.
Yeah, I don't have anything additional to say to that. I just thought that the document itself was interesting, but there was a link in it. If you click to the link, it
Yeah.
actually listed what other towns were doing.
Mhm.
And I thought that was just kind of interesting to see.
Yeah,
So,
very.
Yeah.
Might be more, as we get our data, we should revisit that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Like, here's some
fun
ideas, here's.
and I have to say, like, I was struck yet again by how great Bristol is, because I read that and I thought, the first thing that you guys did was say, we want to hear from more people.
Mhm.
And that is so Bristol.
Mhm.
And I really like that. And I didn't see that in a lot of the other towns, like they dove in and did
Mhm.
whatever they thought seemed like the right thing. And I like the approach
Mhm.
of, well, let's ask these other people what they think matters here, and, you know, maybe we'll find out something different, and then we'll decide what we, so I thought that was nice.
Does anyone else have information swap items for tonight?
I was just saying, isn't this so much fun, Amy? Don't you want to be the town representative to this committee?
We would love it.
It's not bad.
Well, I'll put in a plug for, Amy, especially if you, for folks you might work with that have children with disabilities. I work for the Vermont Family Network, and we're having our annual conference on April 8th. So, yeah, just putting it out there for anyone who's interested, but especially families.
Yeah, would you
with kids
mind
with-
sharing that
No.
information out? I'd
No.
love to get more information at least.
Yeah.
I'll do one drop because last week, still getting used to and learning things about Bristol. We went to the Hub Community Dinner that was last
Yeah.
week.
Yeah.
Of course, I met Taylor when she was here for a short time, but that was amazing. And they posted yesterday, they're going to do another one on April 11th, I believe it is. So they're really interested in trying to do more of those to bring more of the community into the Hub.
It's pretty great.
Yeah, it was wonderful. It was just like, felt like a family dinner. I mean, it really
It's
was.
fun going in there. The kids like to make chocolate chip cookies. I told them to text me when they're out of the oven.
Oh my gosh, brilliant.
I went one day and they were making them and I was like, let me know when they're out of the oven. I will come right back.
Yep. That
Uh,
was
if you've been there
so
last
smart.
week, my wife made homemade granola
Oh.
and brought some homemade peach preserves to put on it. So
Yum.
yeah,
Yeah, the kids bake themselves. One of them was baking and didn't have any ingredient like card, just doing it by memory. And I'm like, I want to try those cookies.
anybody else have anything else? Otherwise, it looks like we could be wrapping up 6 minutes early. Sounds like a wrap then. Thank you. Great meeting. Good to meet you, Amy.
Thank you. Thank
so
you for
much,
having
Amy.
me.
See you
Great
around
to meet
town.
you, and good to see you, Brian.
Have a good vacation, and I will be seeing emails from you guys. Shortly. Yes, sir.
Sounds good.
All right, take care, everybody.
Have a good night.